And that's it. We'll just get started.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name's John with a Pine Tree, and I have the great pleasure of being here with Terry Strong. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Now, we are at the Artist Tour, aren't we?
The studio tour.
Studio Tour.
Right.
Now, we're at Qual Kilns, Bryce Station Vineyard. Now, how many other artists are set? And we're kind of going off topic here. We're kind of... But anyway, what's setting up here and what's going on today?
Well, there's 6 artists here, including Qual Kilns
Right.
with their gallery, and then there's 5 of us other artists out here on the side yard, and we're part of the Calaveras County Arts Council Studio Tour Day.
Nice.
And people, as they trickle in, are getting to taste wine at Bryce Station Winery, and also they see the pottery, which is always here, and then the added bonus is 5 other artists.
Now, the big reason for our little interview here is you're a former Olympian. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
Now, you're a swimmer.
I was a swimmer. I still know how to swim. Yeah, I was a competitive swimmer in the 1964 Olympics in Tokyo, Japan.
Wow. Now, are those memories, I mean, you probably carry those memories with you.
I think every 4 years when there's an Olympic year, the memories come to surface, and it is a big part of who I am and who I was as I grew up. I think that, especially now as I get older, I appreciate what I did more and more as the years go by.
Right. You probably, when you're younger, you may tend to take the level that achievement almost for granted, so to speak. Is that,
yes. And you move on with your life.
Right.
And things become more important. Jobs, families, so on and so forth. But yeah, I won a bronze medal in the Olympics, and I think now the media, of course, does, talk a lot more about the Olympics in the last 2 decades, and so it becomes a bigger event every 4 years than it used to be. And having won a medal, I feel very honored to have done that.
And I guess was some similarities at all? I mean, with that being the Tokyo Games versus the Games for China, was there any similarities other than just being Asian stuff?
Well, of course, I guess there was also the Seoul Olympics that were in in Korea.
Yeah.
And there's been some Winter Olympics in Japan, in Sapporo. But similarities. The Olympic Games are the Olympic Games.
Yeah.
They were founded in 1896, and they were the modern Olympic Games were founded in 1896. And except for war years, in both First and Second World War, they've happened every 4 years. So the Olympic Games have their customs, the Olympic rings, the Olympic motto, the history is always there. It's the biggest honor in sports, of course, just to be able to represent your country at the Olympics.
Yeah.
So the when I give a little talk at the grammar school about the Olympics, which comes up every 4 years, I talk about the Olympic motto is the most important thing is to compete. And to compete fairly, and bringing the youth of the world together to compete in friendship. Winning a medal, of course, was sort of, I'm glad I got a medal, but it wasn't the #1 reason I wanted to go to the Olympics. The Olympics was just an honor to be there amongst the 10,000 of the world's best athletes, the youth of the world, competing in friendship, and no wars exist at the Olympic Games. Everybody comes together in friendship.
I guess is if we're, as a community, trying to make an environment to where young kids can grow up and have a chance of competing at that level. In swimming particularly, that would be hard at this here locally, wouldn't it? I mean, isn't it?
Yes. Next to it, very, very difficult, especially on our side of the county here, on the Highway 4 side of the county, where there's never been a public competitive swimming facility.
Right.
The high school, when I brought my son here in 1985 as a freshman in high school, I went to register him at Bret Harte High School and in August, just before he was going to start school, and the man who registered him was his freshman counselor, who said, my son was a big boy, and he said, do you play football? And he says, no, I'm a swimmer and a water polo player. And, well, I'm sorry, we don't have a pool, but are you flexible? Well, he played 4 years of football.
Right.
But had there been a pool, of course,
he would have
been a swimmer and a water polo player. I think that other than Calaveras High School that has their competitive swim program and always have, we on this side of the county just haven't had that opportunity. There's really no place for the kids here to swim.
Right. So that ties into Measure K and also the fundraising stuff they're going to do for the sports complex, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And I think you're the living example of why that it's important for us to have good sports facilities for our youth. I mean,
it's of utmost importance. Not only if somebody wants to take their level of swimming from beginning swimming lessons through age group swimming programs into high school swimming, into maybe college scholarships, and then to the level where I managed to compete at the international level in the Olympic Games. Obviously, you have to learn to swim somewhere. And not only that aspect of it, but say a safety aspect. Kids need to know how to swim. We're surrounded by water in Calaveras County.
For all the lakes and
rivers and streams, and yes, they need to know. Kids need to know how to swim. Where I came from in the Bay Area, you didn't graduate high school unless you could pass a swimming test.
Interesting. Now, what was your event? What was?
I swam in the 400-meter freestyle. I was a freestyler, which is the crawl stroke.
Right.
Okay. And I swam in the 400-meter freestyle in the Tokyo Olympics. I also swam the 100 and 200-meter freestyles and won medals in those in the Pan American Games in Sao Paulo, Brazil, in 1963. So in '64, I had moved up into the longer distance event, which at that time was the longest distance event for women in swimming. 4 years later, in the Mexico City Olympics, they added the 800-meter freestyle, which is still the longest swimming event now for women. Janet Evans held that world record for 100. It seemed like 100 years, but yeah, she was the most amazing 800-meter freestyler.
Now, as you watch the Olympics this year, and you see some of the times that the athletes post in those events, does it get you going like, you know what, if I would have had the training methods they have today, I could,
I try not to go there. I try not to go there. I spoke to my brother on the phone during the Olympics a lot. He was a world-ranked, held several world records in swimming.
So it was your family?
It was my brother and myself, and supported by my parents before there was endorsements and so on. So the parents worked 2 jobs each and put us through swimming. My brother was lucky enough to get a full college scholarship, but I swam before Title IX, so there wasn't college scholarships for women like there are now. But yes, comparing times and training methods is something that's 44 years removed is a little hard to do. Yeah.
Now, if we're talking about the kids, as far as having a facility here locally so they could do it, when as a young person did you know that you had a shot or had the desire to try to, when does the bulb kick on that this is...
Yeah, for me it was very interesting. My brother's 4 years older. So when he started high school in 1956, he graduated class of 60 in San Mateo, he went out for the swimming team. Because my brother and I learned to swim. My mother taught us to swim when we were just toddlers. My mother was from the East Coast and had been a summer camp swim instructor. So we grew up camping on lakes, and the water safety was important, so my mother taught us both to swim. Where was I going with this?
When did the light bulb go on?
The light bulb went on. My brother joined the high school swimming team. Sorry about that.
No, it's probably a bad question.
Senior moment, actually. But my brother joined the high school swimming team, and being always jealous of what my big brother did, when the little local swim team saw that he was a pretty good swimmer, invited him to join the local swim team, and then I, of course, had to do everything he did.
Of course.
It took I was age 10, so 10 to 12. By the time I was in about 2 years later, 12 years old, it was a natural ability. I started winning the local age group swimming meet events, and then by the time I was 14,
it
was a progression. I held several age group records in my 13-14 age bracket, and was ranked one of the tops in the country by the time I was in the 15 to 18 age bracket.
Wow.
So then I was 18 years old when I swam in the Olympics. I think by the time I was 12, I said I wanted to go to the Olympics. But I don't think I really knew what that meant entirely when it came to the amount of dedication and hours of training.
What were some of the feelings of watching? With individual accomplishments like what Phelps did, this year.
I was glued to every single day of swimming in these Olympics. I have seen Michael Phelps swim before. I've watched the progression of his 3 Olympics from the time he was 16 and made his first team. I knew that for him to win 8 gold medals, he had to have some luck, and he did.
Oh, he did.
And he
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
But I didn't personally think he could do it because of those 2 events. Those 2 events were the big question marks.
The luck
And you
events.
had to know, it wasn't just the press saying Michael Phelps is going to win 8 gold medals.
Oh, yeah. You
Just
gotta
because
do
you
it.
qualified
Right.
for the Olympic team in 8
Yeah.
events. So you have to do it. And those 2 events were the questions. And I was, by the way, watching the Olympics on live television time because I have New York City feeds on my television. So knowing I was watching live along with everybody else in the world, you know, that he was in the pool swimming as I was watching,
Right.
I was jumping up and down and screaming and yelling.
Yeah. What did you think on the relay event? When what were you thinking on
When
the,
Jason Lezak
Yeah,
went in,
yeah.
Jason Lezak, I didn't personally think he could do it, and he didn't either until he did the turn. He did the turn and came out and said, you know, this guy's the world record holder next to
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
the French swimmer.
Yeah.
And he said, this is tough, but then he said, you know what, I'm not going to throw it in. I'm going
Now's
to keep
the
digging.
time,
I'm
and-
going to keep digging. I'm going to keep digging. And he didn't know until the last 10 meters that he had a chance to even catch him, and neither did anybody else.
Right.
Rowdy Gaines, who was announcing,
Yeah.
was classic. And I was jumping up and down saying, "Oh my goodness, he's catching him! He's catching him! He's oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!" So, no, I was very excited, and I was so glad because Michael Phelps is such a great ambassador for the swimming, the sport
Yeah.
of swimming.
Yeah.
He's such a great young man.
Yeah.
I swam with Mark Spitz, by the way.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
So his predecessor and I, Mark was 4 years younger, but we swam in the same pool on the same club team at the same
Wow.
time.
Now, which club was that? Was that the
Santa Clara Swim Club.
now at the time? That's kind of was that the Mecca?
Mecca. The
That
Mecca.
was it, wasn't it?
In the United States, in the early 60s, the Santa Clara Swim Club was the place. I was born and raised in San Mateo, swam for a local team there.
Right.
But when my brother went off to college, my parents said, well, he's getting the best swimming there is, and Terry needs the best swimming too, so that's just down the road.
So you made the trek down the peninsula.
Well, we commuted. I boarded out for a year, and then did a lot of summertime commuting, and then my parents finally realized that they needed to move down there.
Yeah.
So for 2 years, and myself and a bunch of other swimmers were
Right.
doing the same thing.
Right.
So they rented out the house in San Mateo and moved. They did the parent dedication thing to their children
Yeah.
in sports.
Well, I guess it's kind of as a nice segue. I guess as we're looking towards the Measure K funding and also the fundraisers for the sports complex here in Bret Harte, it's important with hearing stories like this. I mean, some of our local residents that made it to the show.
Right.
It's that we give our kids here locally the opportunity to at least have a facility to pursue.
And
right?
I've lived here in the county 23 years. I'm not a newcomer.
Oh, I understand.
So
Yeah.
23 years in the county, and had there been a pool that I could have been swimming in a master's program in,
You'd still be.
I'd still be in the water. I would be swimming. Yes, I'd be doing it for my health and for
Right.
fun and for the
Right.
social aspect of it. But I'd be in a swimming pool, and I know that Sonora has a master swimming program. I'm not sure if I don't think Calaveras High swimming pool has a master swimming program. They may. I'm not sure, but it's either one of those with my busy lifestyle would be too much commuting for me.
Because it can be I mean, swimming can be a lifelong sport as well. I mean, just because the joints. I mean, it's a good sport.
It's one of the most incredible.
Yeah.
It's not weight bearing. Although everybody should do some weight bearing exercise.
Right.
But it is for people with arthritis. It's a great therapy sport. Just swimming laps. There's so many aspects. There's water aerobics. There's just so many aspects. We have a summertime private pool in Arnold that does water aerobics at Klein's. There's the summertime pool at both in Angels Camp and Murphy's that are more of it. They just have recreational swimming
Yeah.
programs.
Yeah.
Right. But they're.
Well, we need a pool.
We need a
Lanes,
pool.
We need a pool.
We need a pool. We've needed a pool for a long
long
time. Very long time.
Well, thank you. Thank you for not only sitting with us
Yeah.
today, but also your commitment, to doing what you did. I mean, I think
Thank you.
it's amazing.
Thank
It's truly amazing just to see the commitment to do it.
I sure hope that we can get the pool soon. The high school should have a pool, the community should have a pool,
Yeah.
the children should have a pool,
Yeah.
the prospective athletes should have a pool, and water polo and swimming lessons are all, and water aerobics, master swimming. There's so many kinds of programs that can happen in a year-round swimming pool.
Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Thanks
Thank you.
again.